Hey everybody, it's Michael. I've got another new video for you today. This time it will be Longarm Quilting custom work. It's Legit Kits Edgar the Raven. And as always, if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and get notified. And you can find out more about me at michaelquilts.com. Follow me on social media, Michael Quilts on Facebook, michael.quilts on Instagram. If you've been following the channel, then you know this is the third out of three in a series for Legit Kits. Legit Kits and I have paired up to do 3 of these quilts, in which each quilt I custom quilt in a slightly different way. So we started with Everest, the Golden Retriever, where we have lots of ruler work in the background and some free motion in her body. Then we did Big G, in which we used our Baptist fans and the Fab 5 fan set. We did that for a big background, and then we did straight horizontal lines in Big G's body. Next is Edgar the Raven. So we are going to do lots of different background fills in the areas behind Edgar. And we're going to do a little wood grain in the branch of the tree that he's sitting on. And then in his body, we will get rulers out again and do some jaggedy stylistic feathers, not like normal feathers. Kind of a more sinister, macabre to go along with the Edgar Allan Poe feel. Okay, so here let's look one more time at the footage that I did for the kit. I showed this Edgar kit when I was actually quilting Everest because I have this Edgar kit. So remember, I did not stitch this quilt. Legit Kits sent me the quilts. The sample maker made it. But this kit I am going to make for myself. Here I am showing what you get in the box when you order a Legit Kits kit. There's the instructions, that's basic instructions, that's a user guide that goes along with every Legit Kits kit that you buy. And it has instructions about how to read the papers, how the color charting works, and then general assembly of the quilt. It's really cool. Here are the papers themselves. That's for your paper piecing. Okay, that's a big pack. And now you can just buy the kit, the pattern like this. And that's what you'll get. You'll have to use your own fabrics. But I don't recommend that you do that because Legit Kits comes up with these great Kona cotton kits that has all the colors in there and does it for you. Yes, it's a little more expensive, but you get a ton of fabric. And they kit their kits generously. So that means you get lots of extras, and you can probably make a little small solid color quilt to your liking afterwards. All right? That's what it looks like. Okay, let's run down a few things that I'm using. I do have my ruler base on and my ruler foot because I'm doing some ruler work within this quilt. Now I may take it off when I get just to doing free motion because, you know, there's a little bit of drag when you use the ruler base all the time. It's not much, but, you know, you can tell a difference when you take it off. It's not a big deal, but I might take it off when I do free motion. Okay, I have already basted this quilt, and the way I basted it and got it on straight was I used the Longarm line minder. It attaches to anything on the side of any frame that you can find. It has 5 toggles. There's 2 on one side, a middle toggle, and then 2 more on the other side. And then again, I've attached it to there. Let's see, I have my DIY side leaders on. You can use anything that you want to get tension on the side. There are all different sorts of things on the market, but this is what I made years and years ago. There's a link below on how to make those. Let's see, I'm pinning, because remember, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I like to pin. I get great control with pinning. But red snappers are great too. All the other products are great. Use what you want. Magnets are great. I like it all. That's what I'm using though. This is an Anova 22. I'm doing all hand-guided today. It is computerized, but I'm not using the computer today. Let's see, what have I forgotten? Oh, batting. I'm using 2 layers for this one because this is for Legit Kits, and they're probably gonna hang it somewhere. It's not going on a bed, most likely. Okay, I've got 2 layers here. I've got a black poly select in the back. Okay, this is Quilter's Dream poly select in black in the back. Okay, and Quilter's Dream poly deluxe in white on the top. 2 layers, okay? I mean 2 layers total. All right, that's what it is. The other things that I'm using here, I ended up using Glide 60 weight in the top and in the bobbin. Okay, so that's Glide 60. It has a slightly more matte finish than the Glide 40, but it still has a bit of shine, just not as much, okay? And the 60 really blends in so that I was able to only use a couple of colors, and I'll show you that in a minute too. As far as rulers today, I'm using the Ditch Everything Mini, which you'll see me using right now, and then the Straight 12. Those are the only two rulers that I use in this video. Okay, and the rest is all free motion. You can purchase the line minder and all my rulers at my shop, michaelquilts.com. Use the shop tab. And if you sign up for the newsletter, sometimes I send out a coupon code to get a little discount. All right, let's do some quilting. Okay, what I'm doing first is a combination of things. I'm outlining Edgar, stitching the ditch, if you will, but just on the outside of Edgar. And I'm using military gold. That's the color of thread. And I end up using military gold for the whole thing, actually, in any of the orange and yellowy pieces. Okay, so I'm either outlining Edgar, or when I get to big sections of background, I may get my 12-inch ruler out and do a 1/4 inch on both sides of the seam line where two different colors come together. You'll see that in a second. But basically, the first step is for me to outline Edgar and then outline the background colors so that I can use those as fill space. All right, so I'll show you some footage of that, and then I'll come back and chat with you when we get to some of the free motion fills. Okay, here we go. I'm going to break in to talk about thread color for just a second. I think sometimes we get too concerned about choosing exact matches to go with every single color. But look at what's happening here. This is military gold on a piece of background here that's got more oranginess to it. It looks fine. And then we move to this one, which has more yellow to that, and it looks great there too. I think it looks fine. So sometimes when choosing threads, think about that. Lay it out on your fabrics and see if you can find a few different backgrounds and see how the thread looks, because perhaps you can use one color thread, or maybe two. Maybe you choose a darker shade if you've got darker ones, and then a lighter, and maybe you choose two colors instead of just one. But anyway, as I was quilting this, I was just thinking, oh, you know, this thread looks great on both. So that's my little tidbit. Here we go, more quilting. Okay, here's where we're going to start working on this branch. So I'm going to do some wavy lines. I'm sort of doing a modified wood texture design. Wavy, kind of gnarly. I'm looking for spooky tree. So I'm just going to do some wavy lines and go around, and then eventually I'll put something that looks like an eye for the knots. So I do these sharp angled and come back and forth with that. And you see how that looks sort of like an eye, and then continue on with the wavy list of the lines, and then echo that a little bit, and just doing the curvy, wavy lines. And I'm sort of thinking about when I come up to the sides of not bumping into them too abruptly, and sort of making it blend into the side. I'll show you that in a minute. Here's another knot that we're putting in. And wavy lines continuing. And just kind of, I'm really doing, this whole quilt pretty much is improv. I didn't mark anything. So just wavy lines, echoing, trying to travel. Here's where we're going up into the side, and see I'll kind of run into the side like that instead of perpendicular, and basically just having fun. Okay, I did get out one more ruler that I used briefly. This is the curve at 20. I kind of liked the curve that it gave, and I'm using it to help me with the head of Edgar, kind of going into the eye. So just getting that shape. And I'm sort of using it as a spine, because I'm going to put some jaggedy feathers into Edgar, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. But I wanted that overall curve to give me a good start. Okay, so the way I'm approaching his body is I'm using straight lines and doing elongated triangles, parallelograms, but straight lines nonetheless. These are not curvy. I considered doing traditional feathers in his body, which I thought would be really pretty. But Edgar is more of an edgy bird, in my opinion. So I think he warrants the sharperness of the feathers. Like even in his design, he's got sharp ending feathers. So I wanted to stick with that theme. So really, I'm just doing these lines, and I've got different footage. I've probably already shown you a little bit of it. And one of the main things I'm doing is trying to avoid major seams where lots of stuff comes together. So I might do, something like this, coming to a skinnier point and then coming up here and then coming back down, following some of the piecing lines, and then maybe bringing this back up. So it's really improvisational. I'm not marking this out, but I am using some of the pieces to kind of see what direction I'm going in and how to create a little bit of variation. Some of these are longer feathers, so to speak, and some of them are shorter, but always using straight lines on this. Okay, moving on to the fills. So I decided on pebbles, and these are my organic ones. They are not equal in size, and sometimes there's space between, sometimes there's not, but the overall effect I really like. I did sort of an alternating pattern of these. I did pebbles and then swirls alternating on the outsides of the quilt, and then in towards Edgar's body, I'm doing feathers. So there's 3 basic fills within these spaces that I've created the 1/2 inch separations, which is a 1/4 inch away from the seam lines of each color change. So we've got pebbles, we've got swirls, and we've got feathers. Here's the pebbles. And if you have trouble with pebbles, just see if you can go around and around them more than once. Sometimes if you just try one trip around, you don't have a circle, but if you do a second trip around that circle, it tends to get more circle-like. Mine tend to be about a circle and a half, and then I switch direction. It's sort of muscle memory, and you end up doing it without thinking too much about it. Mine are mostly round, but not always. And if I really concentrate, I can get them smaller and tighter and with less space. But sometimes I just like to be, an artist, not a machine. So here's Pebbles. Okay, moving on to swirls. These are just fun swirls. I'm changing directions. I'm trying to keep the space between the lines about a quarter of an inch apart. Trying to use the hopping foot basically for that. And I just go in one direction and go in the other direction. And sometimes I can just do lots of swirls like this and continue on. But then if I hit something like the seam or the other swirl, then you do a little bit of backtracking onto that previously stitched whatever, whether it was a seam or another swirl. See, I just put a little hook on that last one, if you can see that towards the right. That's not what I always do though, but I kind of do what feels right, and I try to fill up the space the best I can. So if I see that I've left a gap somewhere, I usually will go back and echo it somehow and fill something in. All right, so these are my swirls. They're not perfect by any means. But again, once you see the whole quilt and the area filled in, it looks okay.
I sew a teardrop like that. I'm going over my stitches a little bit so they're locked in. Okay, now I'm going to quilt down close to that spine that I drew. Doesn't have to be perfect. And from here, I'm going to start by going out here, backtrack, swing out, and come back into the spine. And try to come back in at an angle, not directly. You don't want to be like creating a perpendicular line here. You want to come into the spine. Okay, so the way I do it again, I go split the difference, which means I've just quilted the in between this feather and the spine. I'm quilting in here, so I say split the difference, swing out, backtrack, out and back into the spine, coming down into that spine and not just hitting it. Okay, so split the difference, backtrack, swing out, and come back down in. Okay, split the difference, backtrack, swing out this little bit, and come back in. Okay, so I'm using the space that I've given myself. Split the difference, backtrack, swing out, come back down into the spine. Split the difference, swing out. That was the backtrack, swing out, come back down into the spine. Okay, once I get to here, I'll trim that thread that I started with. I came back and I did this last one. Then I'm just going to follow the spine down. Sometimes right on top of it. It might not be. It could be a little bit off. I'm okay with either way. Doesn't matter. Now I'm going to do this side. And go out, backtrack. Come back down into the spine. Split the difference, go out. Backtrack. Back down into the spine. Split the difference, go out. Now when I get to a really wide area, I might come back in and I might do another here and another here, and then I can come up and swing back and touch that last one, and now I'm going to do that little curl. See how I've curled it over itself? It adds a little interest. Okay, and then I'll just go over some stitches and now I'm done. Okay, I'm going to wrap up the video here. Edgar was tons of fun to quilt. Here's a picture of him completely finished. I don't know if you can tell, but I did the feathers all around his body, but not on the outsides of the quilt. So all the feather motifs are just close to his body. Here's a few more pictures of the detail of the fill. I think the fills were really effective. I had a lot of fun doing them. I loved doing this wood grain in the branch. That was kind of fun. And basically, you know, just had fun. This quilt really lent itself to all of those background fills and to letting me play with Edgar on the inside. Edgar, I'll miss you. Thanks, Legit Kits. All right. Hey, everybody. I'll see you next time, okay? Happy quilting. Bye-bye.